Billionaire CEO's shocking reaction to Black Waitress's note. You won't believe what it said. The diner was buzzing, a cacophony of clinking dishes and laughter, but a sudden hush washed over the room as the door swung open, entering the billionaire CEO, Harrison Blake. He was a giant among men, his tailored suit hugging muscles that looked carved from stone. He strode in like he owned the world, a confident gleam in his eye. But what happened moments after? Pure chaos. At a tiny corner table, a waitress, the kind with a beaming smile and a heart of gold, slipped a note onto his table. It was a sweet gesture, a simple thank you for the large tip he'd left last week. But as he unfolded that crumpled paper, the atmosphere thickened. The diners leaned in, whispers fluttering between them like startled birds. What could be written that would suck the air from the room? The waitress, Sasha, with her curly hair bouncing as she approached his table, beheld a shift in his expression. He went from relaxed to a storm brewing behind his eyes. His hand trembled slightly as he placed the note back down, urgency radiating from every fiber of his being. It felt like the calm before the storm, and people exchanged puzzled glances. What was on that note? Sasha felt the tension prickling on her skin. The world went quiet, except for the pounding of her heart as she stood there frozen, waiting for a flicker of recognition, validation, or, God forbid, anger. Blake locked eyes with her, and time stretched into eternity. Then, in an instant, something exploded, not in sound but in an electric thrill that rushed through the crowd. Gasps erupted as he jumped up, thrusting the note into the air. "What is this?" he shouted, his booming voice slicing through the tension, eyes wide with something akin to fear. The patrons exchanged glances, mouths hanging open. They sensed a shift, like a tectonic plate had moved deep beneath them. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The note, seemingly innocuous, had the power to rattle the pillars of his carefully crafted empire. What had she written? Was it a confession? An accusation? Heat surged in Sasha's chest, turning her cheeks a dazzling crimson. She wished she could melt into the floor, but her feet were frozen. She needed to know, too. "Tell me," he commanded, hunger dancing in his voice. The waitress glanced around, hands trembling, heart racing. The crowd leaned closer, fingers poised to capture every second of this unfolding drama. Would this moment alter lives forever? What revelation lay hidden in that innocuous little note? The question hung heavy in the air, whispering promises of tomorrow as excitement clashed with dread, propelling the story forward into what was sure to be a shocking revelation. "Tell me," he commanded again, his voice booming like thunder. The crowd gasped, caught in a web of anticipation. Every eye was locked on Sasha, who felt the blood drain from her face, a wave of nausea crashing over her. "What's wrong?" someone shouted from the back. The murmur spread like wildfire, voices overlapping, confusion thickening the air. Sasha's thoughts raced. This was more than just a thank you note. It had to be, or else why would he react this way? "Please, just tell me." He was desperate now, his calm facade fracturing. The intensity of his gaze burned into her. With trembling fingers, she took a step forward, eyes darting around the room. She could see college students, parents, and elderly couples all watching, all waiting. Each face reflected disbelief, horror, and curiosity. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. "Mr. Blake, I just read it," he interrupted, urgency cracking his voice. He leaned in, the paper quivering in his outstretched hand. Her heart pounded louder than the ringing in her ears. For a brief moment, she considered shattering the tension with laughter, to joke about how a simple thank you note could cause such an uproar. But fear held her tongue captive. Was the note responsible for this upheaval? Or was it his past finally clawing its way back to the surface? Taking a steadying breath, she reached for the note. The corners of the paper were tattered, but it was the words that made her stomach twist. "It's just a note. Just a thank you," she cried out, a plea more than an explanation. "Read it." The demand rang through the diner again, colder this time, spurring her to comply. As she unfolded the note, her fingers brushing against the hastily scrawled words, a hushed whisper floated through the crowd. A couple at the back exchanged vibrations of dread. A young girl covered her mouth in shock. What did the note say? A moment later, she found herself reading the words aloud. "I know what you did." Gasps erupted, like a wave crashing against a rocky shore. The tension tightened, wrapping around them like a vice. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Whispers turned into a torrent of speculation. As the meaning of that phrase sunk in, for a heartbeat, silence fell. Then, disbelief morphed into accusations. What did he do? Someone yelled from the corner booth, fury transforming curiosity into anger. Harrison's expression darkened, a storm brewing inside him. Who wrote this? He demanded, his voice a low rumble now, barely contained. Sasha's heart raced, she could hear her pulse thumping in her ears. Everyone's eyes darted between her and Blake, like tennis players caught in a deuce match. She could feel the gravity of the situation weighing on her. This wasn't just about her anymore. I don't know. This is bullshit. One voice shouted, and a chorus of agreeing murmurs followed. Instead of the usual banter of a diner, the air now crackled with tension, each person fully aware this was a moment that would be etched in memory. Blake glared at the note, confusion etched across his face. "I need answers," he snapped, looking at Sasha as if she held the key to the kingdom. This was meant to be a good day. It was just a note. Tension surged again, as people leaned into the drama, electric anticipation rippling through the crowd. What secret did that little note conceal? Was there truth in its accusation? The diner felt alive, a pulse racing through it, bouncing against walls and reverberating through every soul present. And just then, as the murmurs reached a crescendo and Sasha felt she could go no further, a mysterious figure appeared at the entrance, a woman, elegantly dressed but shrouded in shadows. She hesitated at the threshold, eyes scanning the room. What did she know? Was she yet another thread in this tangled web? The crowd parted slightly as if sensing her presence, a collective inhale filling the diner, mirroring the tension that hung everywhere. Sasha's breath hitched. Who was this woman? And could she hold the answers that everyone sought? In an instant, the tides were shifting again, and an even deeper mystery loomed just beyond the door. Would she expose the secrets that threatened to unravel everything? The stakes were higher now, and the truth loomed closer than ever. The woman stepped forward, her silhouette cutting through the dim light of the diner. Hair cascading over her shoulders and a sharp glint of determination in her eyes, she seemed out of place yet undeniable. Conversations faded, and a heavy silence settled like a thick fog. It was as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Who are you? Harrison's question sliced through the silence, his voice slicing like a blade, bringing the crowd back from their reverie. He stepped closer, defiance dancing on his face as he fixed his gaze on her. Just someone who knows more than they should, she replied, her tone calm and cool. The crowd leaned in, caught like fish on a line, desperate for a morsel of the truth. Do you know anything about the note? Sasha's question burst forth, her heart racing. She sensed the woman held secrets, buried treasures that could either save or destroy them all. The woman smiled softly, yet it seemed edged with something darker. Perhaps, but I'm not here for you, dear. She gestured towards Mr. Blake, who stood frozen, a wild confusion flickering in his eyes. I'm here for him. The air turned electric again, mouths agape as astonishment rippled across the room. What connection did she have to Blake? And why did her mere presence send a shiver down Sasha's spine? Explain, Blake commanded, the authority in his voice cracking and revealing the desperation beneath. You think the past is buried, don't you? You think you've escaped it. Her eyes pierced through the turmoil, locking with his. But the past never forgets, nor does it forgive. Sasha felt her skin prickle. The woman was digging into something raw, laying it bare before all. A murmur spread through the diner. Was Blake's past tainted? What sins could he possibly have committed that would lead to such chaos? What do you know? Blake spat out, anger bubbling just below the surface. Sasha noticed his hands were clenched, each knuckle white with tension. Everything, she said softly. About you and the note and the girl who signed it. Eyes widened as the realization sunk. This was no simple diner debate anymore, this was a showdown, and stakes were rocketing through the roof. The woman walked closer, her heels clicking against the tile, reverberating with the tension. She held a folded piece of paper in her hand, a mirror to the one Blake had received. What do you want? Blake's voice quivered, a hint of fear creeping in. Could this woman unravel him? I want the truth, she declared, muscles coiled, a reckoning brewing between them. And you need to face it. A shiver coursed through Sasha. What truth? The weight of the moment grew heavier, threatening to crush her. What if the truth about Mr. Blake was even darker than she imagined? Just then, a loud crash shattered the air as someone knocked over a chair, the chaos breaking the spell for an instant. All eyes flitted to the source of the disruption, anxiety palpable as emotions flooded the diner. Enough! Harrison shouted, silencing the room again. Stop playing games. Either you tell us who you are or we're done with this charade. The tension was sour in the air as she turned her gaze back to Blake, the hunter fixated on its prey. The choice is yours. Reveal your truth or let it consume you, she warned, eyes narrowing to slits. Sasha's pulse skyrocketed. Would Blake risk everything to protect a dark secret, or was he ready to unveil a past filled with regrets that could bring the diner crashing down? Before anyone could react, the woman lifted the paper in her hand, a triumphant smile flickering over her lips. Let us unwrap this mystery, shall we? As she unfolded it slowly, every heartbeat echoed like a drum, and the room held its breath. What lay within could change everything, and all of them. What secrets awaited as those edges unfolded? And was Blake ready for the explosion that would follow? As the woman finally unveiled the note, the diner seemed to collectively gasp, the air thick with an unnameable tension. It was as if the very fabric of reality had shifted, and the fluorescent lights above flickered in response. The paper, worn and frayed at the edges, was marked by a hasty scrawl that seemed almost foreign. None of them could breathe as she raised it high, the meticulously crafted words dancing in and out of the light. Looks like someone's been keeping secrets, Mr. Blake, she said, a predatory gleam in her eyes. What's it say? Harrison edged forward, his frustration boiling into curiosity. Let us not rush, she teased, savoring the moment, as if every tick of the clock could amplify the shock she was about to deliver. Blake's face paled, a revelation creeping into his otherwise stoic demeanor, and Sasha felt a chill race down her spine. What had he done? What was this woman about to expose? Read it. Sasha urged, her voice trembling. But the woman hesitated, enjoying the tension she had created. Why do you think I'm here, Blake? She persisted. This letter connects us, all of us. But you need to accept your part before you can see the whole picture. Just read it. Blake barked, desperation leaking through the cracks of his facade. The crowd shifted, the urgency palpable. It didn't take much to sense they were all holding onto a fraying thread, ready to unravel at any moment. With a calculated slowness, she began to read, her voice dripping with mock excitement. You are invited to the reunion, the one that would reveal more than just the names of those lost. You thought you were free from the past, but it has come back to greet you. She paused, her eyes darting to gauge the crowd's reactions, clearly thriving on the fear and confusion blooming among them. Who's lost? Blake stammered, his bravado cracking like thin ice. The girl who signed it, she continued, she's not as far away as you think. She's been watching, waiting for her moment. Gasps erupted in the diner, emotions swinging from confusion to anxiety. Sasha's heart raced as she pieced it together. Was this girl the key to unraveling everything? To pulling Blake's hidden sins into the glaring light? What does she know? Blake's voice trembled. Everything, the woman replied, her tone now dark and grave. About the night you tried to bury your sins. About the girl who died in the shadows of your ambition. She deserves to be remembered, don't you think? Sasha felt her stomach churn. An undercurrent of dread wrapped around her lungs, squeezing tighter. What kind of man was Blake really? Could he be responsible for something so terrible? He began, but the weight of guilt hushed him. Be careful, Mr. Blake, the woman warned, her tone sharp. Those we wrong can come back to haunt us. And they will stop at nothing to reveal the truth. The crowd held their breath as fresh whispers ignited behind closed lips, panic fanning across the small room. They were no longer just witnesses, they were wrapped in the dark tale, pulled deeper into Blake's hidden history. What would Blake do? Would he finally unearth the skeletons of his past, or would he fight to keep them buried? The stakes loomed high, and every glance at the trembling paper seemed to echo a heartbeat of truth waiting to come crashing down, and just as the tension reached a breaking point, the door swung open with a fierce gust, startling everyone. A figure stepped inside, dripping with uncanny familiarity. Did someone mention a reunion? She said, her voice low yet saturated with intent, eyes locked on Blake. Sasha felt a new twist in her gut. Who was this woman? And how did she fit into the jagged puzzle of Blake's past? The revelation was about to explode again, leaving everyone breathless. The newcomer stood framed in the doorway, her silhouette slicing through the diner's dim light. A hush fell, like the moment before a storm breaks. The air turned electric, crackling with uncertainty and whispers. Who are you? Blake croaked, ire and fear braided in his voice. Maybe a friend, maybe a ghost, she smiled, and there was a strange allure to it, a promise of chaos tied to each emotion ambushed on her face. She stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply against the worn-tiled floor. With each step, Sasha could see the familiar features: sharp jawline, dark hair, confident stance, a visage that sparked memories long buried. Kate, Blake breathed, a mixture of indignation and disbelief marring his expression. I thought you vanished. Vanished? Oh no, I was just waiting for the perfect time. And this, she gestured at the terrified waitstaff and curious onlookers, seems to be it. Look at everyone so eager for a show. Her eyes sparkled with mischievous delight, as though she relished the spectacle unfolding before her. Sasha, caught somewhere between intrigue and alarm, watched as the weight of the revelation settled like a lead cloak on Blake's shoulders. He took a half-step back, the diner's ambience swirling around him, a vortex of disbelief clashing with latent horror. Is this a joke? Blake asked, voice shaking but trying to remain steady. She smiled sweetly. Why would it be? You were invited, after all. Every action has its consequences. Her gaze darkened. You took everything away from us. The air thickened with tension, a palpable charge that felt like a thunderstorm rolling in. Blake clenched his fists, visibly trembling. I was young. I didn't know, but you did, she cut him off, her tone icy, unrelenting. You chose ambition over lives. You thought you could erase us. But every choice has costs, Blake. Some pay in wounds, others in blood. Gasps spread like wildfire among the diners. Conversations trembled on the edges of shocked stares, lines of judgment formed behind half-covered lips. What do you know? Blake's bravado cracked wider, revealing the frightened boy that hid beneath his wealth and status. About that night? More than you can imagine. I became the specter haunting you for a reason. You think the people you hurt are gone? In truth, we live on in your conscience, your nightmares. Isn't that right? She turned to the crowd, channeling energy, drawing them into her whirlwind. Don't you want to know what really happened? What Blake tried to cover up? Sasha's heart raced. How did Kate know all this? Was there a connection she hadn't seen before? What are you planning? Blake asked, a tremor in his voice betraying him. She stepped closer, inches from his trembling form. Planning? No, I'm merely here to remind you that you are far from free. I'm here to bring forth the truth. The one you've tried to stifle, not just to you, but to everyone. The air thickened, silence hanging. Sasha's pulse quickened, the resemblance of an emotional hurricane growing between them. The diner was a stage, a spotlight shining on this tumultuous confrontation unfolding. Then, as the anticipation reached a fever pitch, Kate turned to the crowd, voice rising. Everyone deserves to know what he did. It's time for revelations, for reckoning. Sasha felt as if she was leaping into an abyss. Was she supposed to stand by, watching the layers of deception peel away? Or could she find the courage to confront the truth tangled through her own path? As the momentum shifted and the air buzzed with excitement, the tension twisted everything into a coil ready to snap. Will you help me? Kate suddenly asked Sasha, throwing an unexpected question into the chaos, her tone now sincere. It ricocheted through the room, charged and urgent. Sasha felt the weight of the question, the gravity of the moment, and knew the answer held implications that could shake foundations. Would she step into the light or fade back into the shadows? Are you ready to face the truth? Kate's eyes bore into hers, flickers of desperation and hope colliding, the echo of their hearts pulsed. Between them, and Sasha realized the moment was poised, every person in the diner was a witness to everything that was about to unfold. Blake's hand curled around something in his pocket, tension coiled tight in his jaw. What would he do next? What hidden truths would be unleashed? The storm was brewing, and the question lingered like electricity in the air: who would emerge unscathed when the dust finally settled? Sasha stood frozen, the weight of Kate's challenge pressing heavily on her chest. A decision hung in the air, pulsating with palpable intensity. Around them, the diner felt like an ancient arena, echoes of past struggles reverberating off the walls. Every pair of eyes boring into her, each whisper a distraction, but the truth is, she couldn't turn away now. Blake shifted, his expression darkening. You can't seriously be considering this, he hissed, eyes darting from Kate's fiery determination to Sasha's hesitation. Kate's playing games, that's what she does best. Whatever she wants, it's not the truth, it's revenge. Isn't that what you deserve? Kate shot back, not missing a beat. You hid behind walls of falsehood for too long. You thought you could scare us into silence. But here we are, and here I stand. I am not what you can disregard. Sasha could feel the tremor in Kate's voice, the weight of so many unspoken fears. She glanced at Blake, his grasp on the pocket tight. What was he holding? Did he have a secret that could shatter everything? Why now? Sasha asked, her own voice barely a whisper, but it cut through the tension like a knife. Why come back now, Kate? What changed? Kate's mouth twisted into a bitter smile. Because there's a time when shadows must step into the light. I'm tired of being a ghost in your life, Blake. She turned back to the gathering crowd, emboldened by her own conviction. And I'm tired of hiding. You all deserve the truth. Sasha's heart raced as the diner's atmosphere shifted. Was this a righteous battle of the wronged, or a spiral into absurd chaos? People leaned in, hanging on to every charged word, and she felt the growing urgency gnawing at her insides. Could she really help Kate unveil whatever dark secrets Blake had hidden? Honestly, what do you think you'll achieve by this? Blake spat, the fear creeping into his eyes. You think sharing your sob story will fix what's broken? You think you can poison these good people's minds against me? Good people? Sasha fought the urge to roll her eyes. These good people had feasted in the spoils of Blake's wealth while lives tumbled down the cliff edge like abandoned toys scattered across a field. Your grandeur can't shield you anymore. It's time to choose your battle. Kate's voice was firm, resonating through the room. What will it be, Sasha? Will you remain in the shadows, or stand with me? Blake laughed, a harsh, biting sound. And who will listen to you, Kate? Your audience? They want a night out, not an emotional lecture. But the crowd buzzed, murmurs igniting like dry leaves in a fire. They hungered for revelation. The sudden clatter of a falling tray crashed through the tension, drawing every gaze to an elderly woman trembling near the front, her face ashen. You can't let him get away with it, she said, her voice quaking but steady. No more hiding. That seemed to hit Blake hard, a flicker of rage and panic flaring in his eyes. He shifted again, but this time something crunched beneath his feet, an envelope. Everyone paused to stare, the diner holding its collective breath. What is this? Sasha whispered, kneeling to retrieve it, fingers trembling. The envelope was sealed, the return address glaringly familiar. A name she had only dared to think about following the tragedies, a name Blake once buried. Don't open that. Blake shouted, taking a step forward, his voice rising, panic spilling over like boiling water. You don't know what's in there. The tension snapped, unraveling everything she thought she knew as she slid her finger under the flap. Sasha locked eyes with Kate, urgency guiding her movements. Do it, Kate urged, and the crowd collectively leaned in, a living, breathing wave, waiting for the truth to reveal itself. What skeletons lay waiting behind that envelope? Would it forge bonds or unleash chaos? As the paper tore, the diner's air crackled with potential, the truth teetering on the edge like a tightrope walker about to fall. What story would emerge, and how many lives would unravel with it? And then another scream pierced the silence, a voice they all recognized. No. It was Blake, his expression shifting from angry confidence to desperate insanity. Sasha held her breath, heart pounding in her ears, wondering if this was just the beginning or the end. The room erupted into chaos as Sasha tore open the envelope. The paper crackled, a small sound swallowed by the gasps and murmurs that rippled through the diner. Blake's eyes widened, flickering with a mixture of rage and fear, as he lunged forward. Stop! He bellowed, but it was too late. Sasha's fingers trembled as she unfolded the contents, revealing a small stack of photographs and a handwritten note. Her breath caught in her throat as her eyes darted over the image's grimy alleyways, faces half hidden in shadow, and a much younger Blake, standing next to someone whose identity sent a chill down her spine. Wait! You're not even. Blake's voice cracked. Desperation seeped in as he tried to regain control, but the room was already spiraling out of his grasp. Who is that? Kate pressed, leaning in closer to glimpse the contents. A collective hush settled as more people leaned closer, curiosity piqued, while Sasha's heart raced. She had been drawn into this web, and now it felt like the diner's very walls were closing in on her. It's just a mistake, Blake stammered, stepping back, his bravado crumbling. The uncertainty in his eyes spoke volumes. He glanced at the crowd, desperate for loyalty but finding only disbelief in their gazes. What does it say? Someone dared to ask, breaking the silence. The weight of the moment pressed down like a smothering blanket as everyone turned to Sasha, their collective anticipation forming a palpable energy. Let me see. Kate reached forward, her fingers brushing against Sasha's as she sought to glimpse the contents. That simple touch sent a flicker of resolve through Sasha. It felt like solidarity, like stepping into the light Kate had waited so long for. Sasha unfolded the note lower in the envelope. The scrawl was erratic, shaky, but filled with emotion. As she read it aloud, her voice trembled, feeling the weight of every word. Dear Kate, they can't know the truth about what happened. It's too risky, for all of us. Who is they? Someone shouted from the back, breaking through the tension. The room held its breath, eyes darting back and forth, hungry for clarity. Kate's jaw tightened. What does it mean, Sasha? She urged, almost pleading. Sasha met Kate's gaze, her own heart racing. It means something was hidden, something darker than we thought. Blake's expression twisted into something almost human, an edge of vulnerability beneath the facade of a smooth billionaire melting away. You don't understand. He shouted, losing his grip. This isn't a story. It's a warning. People have died. The weight of his words hung heavy, and the diner's atmosphere shifted. A chilling awareness edged into the room. Sasha felt the pulse of panic surge as she held the photographs tightly, as if they could protect her. Died? What are you talking about? Kate shot back, quick as lightning, refusing to let him deflect the conversation. What did you do, Blake? Blake turned ashen, a retreating figure on a crumbling pedestal. Nothing happened that you need to know about, he said. But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. The crowd murmured, eyes wide as uncertainty wrapped around them like a fog. Would they turn against him? Would Kate finally get her revenge? Or was there something deeper brewing beneath the surface, an even larger truth that remained hidden? What else is in there? Someone whispered, pulling Sasha back from her thoughts. I don't know, she admitted, the fear clawing at her throat. She needed to find the answers before Blake reigned control again. As she hesitated, staring down at the remaining contents of the envelope, a flash of movement caught her eye. Blake was slipping towards the door, his face pale, a wolf among the sheep. Where do you think you're going? Kate called, her voice cutting through the tension. This isn't over, Blake. He froze for a heartbeat and then vanished into the night. We need to find this out now. Sasha exclaimed, adrenaline pumping. He's hiding something more. Let us figure this out together before he does it again. The crowd stirred, their energy shifting toward Sasha and Kate, ready to chase down the shadows Blake had cast. What secrets lay beneath the facade of wealth and power? And as chaos loomed in the air, the question lingered in everyone's minds, would they uncover the truth before it was too late? Sasha stood at the center of the swirling storm, the photographs still clutched tightly in her hand. The diner, once filled with laughter and the smell of greasy fries, now pulsed with an energy that was both electric and terrifying. She turned to look at Kate, whose face was set in a determined expression, ready to pounce on any truth they could uncover. What's next? Kate asked, her voice steady, but Sasha could see the flicker of worry in her eyes. Each instant felt agonizing, the anticipation of what lay ahead wrapping around them like a vice. Sasha's mind raced. We need to figure out who the person is in those photos. If Blake is hiding something that dangerous, maybe they are connected to whatever he did. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, it was as if they were the only two people in the room. Behind them, the murmurs rose and fell, questions bubbling forth, but the urgency of discovery held Sasha captive. Let us use my phone, Kate suggested, starting to reach for it. Maybe we can dig up something online. There has to be a connection. Just as she spoke, the door swung open with a dramatic creak, a gust of wind sweeping through the diner. Everyone turned, hearts racing, pulse pounding in unison. A newcomer stepped in, a tall figure wearing a long black coat, drenched from the rain. The crowd gasped as recognition dawned. Mr. Blake? A voice piped up, betraying surprise. Blake stepped forward, his expression etched with desperation. I'm back, he said, breathless, scanning the room. You need to listen to me. The air thickened with tension, and Sasha felt the hairs on her neck stand on end. Had Blake come to confess? To threaten? She stole a glance at Kate, whose brows knitted together as they silently exchanged thoughts. What do you want, Blake? Kate demanded, her voice a mixture of bravery and disbelief. I know you all want answers, he began, running a hand through his soaked hair, but you aren't prepared for the truth. If you dig into this, you'll put yourselves in danger. Trust me on this. Why should we trust you? Sasha shot back, her voice wavering between fear and anger. You're the one who has been hiding things. Blake looked down, a flicker of regret flashing across his face. Because I've already lost people. Sasha's breath hitched. This was a slip, a crack in the armor. Lost people? Who? And what does that have to do with us? With each question, Blake seemed to retreat further into a pit of fear, and the room held its collective breath. The people in those photos, he hesitated, closing his eyes. They're gone because of what I did. You don't understand the depths of this. Please, just let it go. What's the connection? Who are they? Kate's voice cut through the air with piercing clarity. Blake shook his head, anguish woven into his features. They were my friends. Collaborators. They knew too much, and now they're dead. If they find out that you're looking into this, they'll come for you too. Silence descended like a thick blanket, muffling any sound. The weight of unspoken words pressed down on them. The realization that the stakes were now life and death hung ominously in the air. Sasha felt the ground beneath her shifting. You think we're just going to walk away? You owe us the truth, Blake. We're not afraid of you or them. The fire in her heart pushed against the fear crawling up her spine. Blake stepped closer, urgency knitting his brows. Then you must understand, it's not just about my past. They won't stop until they silence anyone who knows. You're making a grave mistake. Suddenly, the tension was broken by a loud crash beyond the diner's plate glass windows. A group of men in dark suits stumbling from an idling black SUV, their expressions ruthless and set. Get down! Blake shouted, but it was too late. A storm was brewing, and everyone in the diner could feel it. As their eyes widened in shock, Sasha's heart thundered in her chest. They were about to discover just how deep Blake's secrets ran, and whether they had put their lives on the line by choosing to confront him. Would they stand together against a threat that loomed over them like a storm cloud, or would the truth prove too dangerous to chase after? The men in suits stormed through the diner doors, their faces set like granite, eyes scanning the room with predatory focus. The diner's ambience, once filled with the clinking of forks and soft chatter, fell dead silent. It was replaced by the sound of rushing blood in Sasha's ears. Everyone! Get to the back! Kate cried out, her voice slicing through the tension. But the eyes of the diners, glued to the abrupt murder of normalcy, didn't budge. They were frozen, fear turning their limbs to stone. Blake stepped in front of Sasha and Kate, shielding them with a frantic urgency. You don't know what they're capable of. We can't give them what they want. One of the men, taller than the others with an intimidating scar running down his cheek, stepped forward. Where is Blake? He growled, his voice gravelly, laced with menace. We don't have him. A man shouted from a booth, desperation lacing his tone. Whispered speculations bounced around the room, but the atmosphere crackled with impending violence. Sasha's heart raced as she felt the weight of the photographs tucked tightly under her arm. Could one of these men be the reason for Blake's fear? She glanced sideways at Kate, who stood with fists clenched, defiance radiating from her small frame. What if we just— Sasha began, but Blake cut her off. No. He was panting, eyes wide, panic evident. We have to stay quiet. They can't know what's on those photos. The scarred man smirked, his gaze darting across the customers. We know all about your little investigation. Save yourselves the trouble. Just tell us where Blake is, or the consequences will be serious. The men began to move, closing the distance between them and the table where Sasha and Kate stood. Everything slowed, the world narrowing down to just the crunching of their shoes against the linoleum floor. Don't you dare! Kate shouted, stepping forward, in a surge of fierce bravery. "You won't touch anyone here." Sasha wanted to tug Kate back, to plead for peace, but she felt rooted to the spot. The menace from the men loomed heavy in the air, nearly palpable. "Cute," the scarred man sneered, unfazed. "But you clearly don't understand the stakes. We're not here to negotiate." With a flick of his wrist, he signaled the other men to encircle them. Fear gripped Sasha like a vice, her breath quickened. The diner's door burst open again, this time revealing a local sheriff, his face lined with concern but confidence. "What is going on here?" he called, his voice authoritative. "Step aside, Sheriff. This is none of your business." The scarred man shot back, clearly annoyed. "Everything that happens in this diner is my business," the sheriff said, moving closer to the tension-filled standoff. Lisa, the waitress who had been trying to calm the crowd, walked cautiously into the fray. Her hands trembled, but she spoke up. "They're dangerous. You can't let them take Blake." Sasha's eyes widened. Some part of her knew she had to do something, but the weight of the situation screamed for restraint. She clutched the photographs tighter, feeling their significance thrum against her chest. Blake's eyes met hers, desperation flickering within, whispering for help. The diner's occupants shifted as uncertainty washed over them, breaths held tight, praying and hoping someone would summon the courage to break. In that moment, amid the chaos, a loud bang echoed from outside. All heads turned as flames erupted from the parked black SUV. The explosion rocked the diner, sending a wave of shock and heat inside, enveloping the room in sheer terror. "Run!" Blake shouted, and panic unfurled like wildfire as everybody scrambled for the exits. As chaos reigned, Sasha clutched the photographs close. This night was spiraling fast. Secrets were about to emerge, and survival was now the only thought echoing in her mind, but as she stumbled through the doorway into the pouring rain, she couldn't shake the feeling that the real danger was yet to come. Who were these men? And why did their arrival feel like the beginning of a nightmare rather than the end? Before her racing thoughts could settle, the echoes of footsteps drew near. Sasha turned to see a shadow dark and ominous approaching from the alleyway across the street, uncertainty looming just behind the flickering streetlight. What was lurked in the shadow? Would they find out the truth, or would secrets bury them all? Sasha stood drenched, heart pounding, as chaos erupted in the diner. The explosion had sent everyone into panic mode. Screams mingled with the crackling sound of the flames outside. The men in suits, now completely on edge, scanned the blackened smoke rising from their vehicle and tightened their formation, their eyes like hawks ready to strike. "Blake!" Kate yelled, her voice cutting through the din. He clasped her wrist, urgency written all over his face. "We need to get out of here." But as they ran into the night, the shadows from the alley grew longer. Sasha's instincts screamed that danger was lurking, and she couldn't shake the feeling they were being hunted. "What now?" she shouted just as they reached the street. Raindrops pelted them like tiny arrows, blurring her vision. She could barely see Blake's face twisted in panic. "Follow me. We can't stay in sight." He tugged Kate urgently, leading them towards a narrow alley not far from the diner. Once inside, they pressed against the cold brick wall, breathless. The booming of their hearts was the only sound that broke through the storm. "Where did those men come from?" Kate whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Guys, listen," Blake stammered, glancing behind them as they took a moment to catch their breath. "You need to know. Those men aren't just here for me. They're part of a bigger problem I thought was buried. They know too much." "What did you do, Blake?" Sasha shot back, anger bubbling beneath her fear. His eyes softened slightly, guilt washing over him as he took a deep breath. "It was a long time ago. A business deal gone wrong. I thought if I secured everything, nobody would get hurt. I was naive. But people died? Because of you?" Kate interjected, her voice trembling, but her gaze demanding answers. Yes, he admitted, shame evident in his expression. I wanted to protect our future, but in doing so, I turned a blind eye to everything bad that happened. I thought I could cover it up. Sasha felt her heart twist. She had trusted Blake, but now it felt like he was a stranger, tangled in webs of deceit. And you thought that would go unpunished forever? You can't just erase the past, Blake. Suddenly, there was a thud at the entrance of the alley, shadows flickering in the dim light. A figure emerged, tall, menacing, the scarred man leading the group. Blast it, they must be around here somewhere, he growled. Run! Blake shouted, adrenaline coursing through him, but it was too late. The men were closing in, their faces hard, determined. As they turned to escape, the path opened up ahead and they sprinted, limbs heavy with panic, rain drenching their clothes. The streets echoed with their hurried footsteps, but Sasha kept glancing back. Was this the end? Would everything they tried to unearth lead them deeper into danger? Where's the nearest police station? Kate gasped, her breath clouding in the cool air, desperate for some form of safety. 2 blocks up. Blake yelled, determination fueling his words. We can make it. But they didn't get far. From behind, the men in suits were gaining, they had powerful connections and lethal strikes. One of them lunged forward, grabbing Kate's collar just as Blake turned. Let her go. He roared, the ferocity surprising even him. Don't play the hero, Blake. The scarred man smirked, pulling Kate closer, a dark glint in his eye. You've already lost everything. Just give yourself up, and maybe we'll let her go. Tension crackled in the air, and Sasha felt the weight of the moment. She had to intervene, this was their only chance. You don't want this fight. She yelled, surprising them. You really think you're going to walk away from this? You are messing with the wrong people. The scarred man narrowed his eyes, drawing back slightly as Sasha stepped forward, fear eclipsed by determination. You don't know us. You don't know what we're capable of. She held onto the photographs tightly, her gripping evidence of Blake's past. You should really let her go. Her confidence grew, fueled by their stunned reactions. You either walk out now or face the truth. The truth you tried to bury. Your secrets. Blake, emboldened by her bravery, stepped forward alongside her. We're not scared of you. You took lives, and you think you'll keep getting away with it? No more. A tense silence filled the air as every eye darted between them and the men in suits. The scarred man hesitated, weighing their defiance against his own ruthless ambition. And then, something shifted, a flicker of doubt crossed his face. Stop this charade, he spat, collecting himself. You think this is over? You think you can play your little game? The past doesn't just fade away, Blake. It catches up, no matter what you do. With a quick motion, he released Kate, and she stumbled back, breathless but unharmed. Blake and Sasha stood firm, holding each other's gaze, and in that moment, they found strength, an unbreakable bond against the chaos swirling around them. Get out! The scarred man shouted to his colleagues. We'll end this somewhere else. We want to be next. With that, they slipped back into the shadows, leaving Blake, Sasha, and Kate gasping in the rain, the echoes of their threats still resonating in their ears. Is it over? Kate asked, breathless, tears almost mingling with the rain on her cheeks. I don't think it ever will be, Blake said softly, the weight of the moment crashing down on his shoulders. But Sasha felt something stir inside her, a resolve perhaps, or fresh courage. If there was a truth to uncover, a path to face the demons of Blake's past, she knew they would have to stand together. They could silence the darkness that threatened all of them. As dawn peeked through the storm clouds above, she took a deep breath, a sense of purpose swelling in her chest. We can still fight, she said, glancing between them. Together. With the truth as our shield. And in that moment, against the ripple of uncertainty, they found a flicker of hope, a belief that no matter the odds, they would face whatever came next. They would turn the storm into their strength. Sasha smiled, steeling herself for the journey ahead. They were just beginning, the truth their only weapon, and together they would weave through the shadows of the past. Remembering the stakes, she turned to lead the way. Now it was time to reclaim control. And as they faced the dawning day, they knew they were ready for the battle ahead. Keep following this journey because they would not lay down without a fight. If you're as drawn into this tension as we are, I need you to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what happens next. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this dangerous tale unfolds. Your support means everything. Be a true fan and join us for the revelations to come.